The first step to take off the front of your Team Magic E5 is to remove the front bumper. So you have 4 screws on the bottom of the truck, and then these 2 screws here, which are there and there. The next screws you want to remove are the top 2 from the steering, here and here, and then you want to remove the one that goes through onto this little bit on the inside of the chassis here, which is this one here in the centre. So now that you've removed these front screws up here and these 2 screws at the top, this front chassis brace should just lift off, and then the next 2 screws you want to take out are these 2 here and here. Now that you've taken off this chassis brace and the 2 shorter screws at the top, the next 2 screws you'll need to take out. I suggest you disconnect the steering linkage first, and then the last 2 screws are these 2 here. These are the ones that bolt it onto the chassis, and then it should literally just pull off like that. And you've got the entire front end of the truck off in as few pieces as possible. So you've got your steering, all your gears and everything there. So the number of screws, just to recap, you've got your 4 that hold your skid plate on at the bottom. Then you've got your front bumper, which goes into these 2 top bits on here, there and there. Then you've got 2 screws, one from here, that screw into the top of your steering posts, and then you've got 1 screw that screws into this piece of the chassis up here, which is the centre piece, and then the final 2 screws are the ones that go here and here in the top of the bulkhead. And then you want to flip it over, and you've got to disconnect the steering linkage and those 2 screws there. So that is 4, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 14 screws to get the whole front of the car off, which isn't great, but it has to be done. For disconnecting the rear end, the first things you want to do is take out the 4 screws underneath here, which will remove if you have a skid plate on, and then make the bottom of the wheelie bar loose. And then you want to go flip it back over and go up to the top of the truck again. The next 2 screws you want to take out is the one that goes through here and here, and then you should be able to take the whole wheelie bar assembly off in one piece. Once you've got your wheelie bar off, you want to remove this middle screw here, which screws into the chassis, into that little bolt just down there. And then you want to remove the screw which goes through here and through here. Now unfortunately, to get to those bolt holes down there, you might need to take your ESC cover off, which is 3 bolts down here and down here. So I've taken that off, and now you can get your Allen key or hex driver down into those bolt holes there, take those off, and then you need to take the bottom ones off down here as well. Then you should be able to just remove that piece there like that. So then you've got your front and rear braces off now. And then you need to flip the truck over to the bottom. Now at this point, if you're running a steel centre skid plate like I am, you will need to remove this in order for this piece to come out, I believe. So remove this next with the 4 bolts there. And then you just need to remove these 2 pieces here, and the whole rear end should come off. So now you can see the whole truck is in pieces. We've got the front end here, the middle chassis still fully intact there, and the rear of the truck there. And you can see all the bits that I needed to take off from the front. Well, the front's down here actually, front to back. So we've got skid plate, front bumper, front brace, front drive shaft. Then at the back you've got to take off the skid plate, rear wheelie bar, then your chassis brace, and also the servo cover, or ESC cover rather, which goes on the top of here. And then I've got the short rear drive shaft there. Screw wise, that's how many screws you need to take out of the front, plus the 2 in the front bumper. And then on the rear, that's how many screws you need to take out right there. So now I've got the fun job of taking all of the electronics and stuff out of here and transferring them over to the new chassis. Right, I've just taken everything out of the chassis here, and I have a couple of problems with the car. As you can see, I've got all the fan, the receiver, the servo, the battery tray, literally everything is out. I've got the ESC still attached, but only by the sticky pads. So there's some things that I wanted to go over. First thing is, you can see the motor mount's not too bad. The lip on the plastic side here is slightly broken, just sort of there. You can see the crack in the chassis actually goes all the way underneath. Oops. Just there. And now the other thing is that I haven't noticed before is on my spool you can see there's a pin which is supposed to go all the way through, but there's only a bit of pin on one side, so it seems to have snapped in half somehow. There's no pin in that side at all, and if I just shake it you can see the pin's too short, so I need to get a new one of these pins because it's allowing the there's quite a bit of play in the spool, between the spool and the spur gear basically, but the bearings are fine. If I just stick it in the chassis a second you'll be able to see. Bearings are good, however look how much I can wobble the spur gear. You can see the shaft itself is barely moving, but the spur gear is moving quite a bit, so I'll need to fix that. So I'll have to order that part because I don't have a spare one of those, because I wouldn't have thought a spool pin would break. Now the other problem I'm having is the back of the motor. I don't know if you can see that little gap there, but basically it's like the motor's loose at the back on this back cap for some reason, so I'm not sure what's gone on there. But yeah, other than that, everything seems to be okay for now. So I'm going to continue building up the new chassis, but I am going to have to replace this spool. So I might have to just build it in for now and not run it for a bit and then replace this pin later. So I have put it all back together now. Because of the issues with the motor and the spool, I haven't put any of the drive shafts for the centre, as you can see there. I've put the new wheelie bar on, but I haven't put those centre shafts in. New wheelie bars on, looking nice. And also I've put the red ESC cover in, although I haven't bothered to mount the ESC until I've got the motor sorted, because they were bought as a combo, and if this problem has led to the motor being bad or something, I might need to take them back as a pair. I've put the servo in. The steering is working a lot better than it was before. The bushings in the steering linkage were actually sort of stuck to the pole with thread lock, so I've fixed that now. But everything's all back together. It's gone together well, but at the moment it is literally just a roller. So yeah, I think that's about it for this one. Goodbye.